Hello, my name is Jim Schulhust, and I'm the president of Ranger SST. Thanks for taking a look at our solution. Ranger provides an integrated solution that starts with call taking, goes to dispatching, includes GPS tracking and mapping, and does mobile messaging to mobile devices in trucks such as this, which is a Android tablet, all the way through to impound lot management with a link to QuickBooks. What's most differentiated about Ranger is a couple things. One of which is we're really trying to help tow companies do one more call per day per truck. And the way that we're able to do that is by getting dispatchers off of voice communications back and forth to trucks and getting them to send all messages electronically to devices such as this, where the call details show up on the device, and then the drivers are able to go through and do updates back to the dispatcher to tell them whether they're en route, arrived, hooked, and at each step they can enter additional information which again flows back into the host system. And so by getting dispatchers off of voice communications, what they're then able to do is to do a better job of locating calls, because these devices also act like Garmin units, and they'll navigate the driver to exactly the location that you have specified for the incident location or for the destination. And so in our mapping solution, we show the dispatcher whether that call has been geocoded or not, and if it shows up green, it means it has been successfully geocoded, but if it hasn't, it'll be red. And so what the dispatcher's value-added role can be is to make sure that each of those destinations, each of those locations has been appropriately geocoded, because those directions are going to go to this device, and this device is going to navigate the driver to exactly where that call is. The reason that's helpful is that then drivers spend less time going to an errant location or trying to find where the stranded motorist is. They get to exactly where they need to go. And in addition, they're not going to be wasting kind of the company's fuel in terms of getting there. Service times will be shorter, and they'll do more calls per day. One of my favorite stories is that we had a customer up in Chicagoland back in the 2004 when we were not going to devices as sophisticated as this, but Nextel phones. And they gave the solution to two of their drivers. And after a week, he brought the drivers back in and he said, well, what do you think about these phones? And the young, more progressive driver said, you know, these phones are great. You know, at least 3 days this week, I did one, if not two more calls during my shift. Owner's thinking, that's pretty cool. He brings in the next driver, Frank, who's kind of a crusty veteran, been with him for 17 years. He said, I strapped on my flak jacket and I asked Frank, what do you think about these phones? Frank said, these phones are great. I didn't have to talk to Sarah all week. Scratches his head, oh really? So then he goes talk to Sarah, the dispatcher. Sarah, what do you think about these phones? She said, these phones are great. I didn't have to talk to Frank all week. And so it takes the interpersonal dynamics out of it, but more importantly for the tow owner is that Frank is waiting to communicate to the dispatcher to be able to clear a call. So that means Frank is unproductive. He's not doing more calls. With a solution such as this, which is advanced from Nextel phones to Android tablets or smartphones, is Frank can clear a call. He can actually swipe a credit card to kind of finish processing the call without ever talking to the dispatcher. The dispatcher isn't talking to the driver, and so the dispatcher already has his next call waiting on his device that he can go to. And so as a result, Frank is doing more calls, Frank is making more commissions, the owner's getting more calls done, the owner's making more money, and Sarah's happy because she doesn't have to talk to Frank. And so that's the basics of what our solution is, trying to help towers do one more call per day per truck.